Voices in Hyperspace. This is a podcast where friends get together and discuss all things sci-fi. Our main mission is to watch and review the hit 90s space opera Babylon 5. I'm Legendary Black Lion.
I'm Melisila.
I'm Nita Painter.
Hey, this is Sunday.
We watched all of Babylon 5 Season 1, which is entitled Signs and Portents. There's a lot in this season, you know, for it being 21 episodes. I'm sorry, 20? Is it 22? 22 episodes.
I think it's 22, and a movie.
And a movie. It's just a lot. So let's talk to the first timers. So Nita and Sunday. Between you two, like, just overall, what are your thoughts being introduced to the show? What are your thoughts on how the season went?
I was so I came across the show, was introduced after I watched Star Trek and the Orville, and so I had this idea that the future in Babylon 5 was going to be an improvement on what I am currently experiencing. So it took a while for my brain to adjust that this is not Star Trek. This is not Orville. And then also with the acting, it was very soapy. Well, the soap opera. Yeah, it is not Star Trek again. So it, after, I want to say 3 or 4 episodes, I started to warm up to Babylon 5. And I do recognize, I remember you saying, Damian, a couple of times that the actors are like finding themselves in their character.
Yeah.
So I think that also played a lot into why it took me a while to like it. Would I watch it again? Just like, hey, I want to rewatch Babylon 5. No.
Okay.
But it wasn't terrible. My favorite episode was the one where the Minbari went gambling with Londo.
Oh, jeez. Nice.
The end.
What about you, Sunday?
I have a similar experience to Nita, only though I've been watching Damian watch Babylon 5 for a while, and so I wasn't as shocked, and it didn't take as much time to get into it. But it's not my favorite sci-fi thing that I have come across. However, it's got a continuous storyline where it's not a different storyline every time, which I really appreciate. Like, how do I say this? Like, every episode is a different storyline, but they all still are being woven together. And I very much like that it's not like just a one-off every time, even though they haven't gotten to where any main characters are going to die and be dead forever. Shout out to Walking Dead for being one of the first to like really do that in reoccurring seasonal things. But I would say, if we're picking favorite episodes, I really like the one where the planet was defending itself and everybody was fighting over it, and that went like maybe 2 or 3 episodes, and before they concluded that whole concept.
Okay. And so for you two, it's like with Nita, your first time being introduced, and Sunday, your first time paying attention. How would you approach the season differently if you had to do it all over again?
I would watch it. I would binge watch it. Like, instead of waiting a week or however long before I watched the next episode. And I binge watch it because of how disinterested I was in the episode. So I wasn't really paying too much attention in the beginning. It wasn't capturing my attention. So then waiting a week, not remembering what happened at all. It took a long time for me to even remember people's names. So, yeah, I definitely would like to just watch 3 episodes in one sitting, at least, and try to get through the episodes as quickly as possible.
Okay, what about you, Sunday?
I really do enjoy binge watching stuff. And so I can't even hold Nita for that concept, but I like binge watching because it allows me to remember better. When I go a whole week in between episodes, even with stuff that I am really interested in, like Discovery, I start to lose like bits and pieces of the information, and then sometimes I'm confusing Orville with Discovery, and I can't remember, but no, was that Babylon 5? And all of the sci-fi starts meshing together. I'm like, I don't know what I'm watching anymore. So if I watch it all at once, or at least 3 or 4 episodes all back to back together, it kind of solidifies characters. It helps me remember names better and things like that. I feel like I'm really out of sorts with Babylon 5, and I'm still struggling to remember people's names.
And you know what? So we're reading Black as Fuck History, and we were having a hard time keeping up with the times, like the different dates and when things were happening. So I am putting together a timeline, and every time a date is mentioned, adding it to the timeline wherever, so that I can follow along where in history I am reading. And I think I would, like, I'm very interested in doing that same thing for other books, or even like this series, like whatever series we're going to do next. I think I'll do something like that, but for characters. And even authors and script writers, they have a thing. What is it called? Like when you have the biography of the characters individually?
Either like a background, a backstory, a Bible.
Yeah, Bible.
Yeah.
Like TV series will have a series Bible, and authors will do that too. I use a chart with bits of information that's in a certain order that I can move around.
Nice. Yeah, I think I'll do that next time to help me remember who's doing what and people's names and all of it.
Okay. So Mel, you and I, we kind of grew up with this, even though it, our memories are different growing up about it. In general, compared to how you first were introduced to it and to us watching it now, what were your impressions of season 1?
Oh, as a 11-year-old or 12-year-old watching this, it opened my mind to the world of politics from that space opera perspective. It was maybe the first time I watched something that serious. So, and then having my dad there to lecture me on every episode kind of helped too. So I was getting a lesson with it. But as an adult, it's like I can pull on this information on my own. And then it's just nice to remember, like, my dad ranting about politics and how the world is evil. And
yeah,
those are fond memories for some reason. Because he wanted me to have that knowledge. So going back to rewatch it, it reminds me of that background that I have that made me love sci-fi in the first place.
That's cool. I was thinking about this while everyone was talking, because we heard about binging the series and all that stuff. Media is being consumed very differently now than it was even 10 years ago. But like in the 90s, it was, if you can find it, good luck, right? Sunday and Nita both said they would binge it. Do you think binging would be a better approach to this, to Babylon 5 season 1? Or do you think like sci-fi in general, like if you're going to do a sci-fi series, do you think like having binge-worthy releases is better? Because I know that some series are doing the weekly releases while some are doing like, we're going to release the whole season.
I guess it depends on what it is. Like, I like binging. As soon as I could just, download stuff online and just watch the whole season or a whole series, I was doing it. But then I think about things that I watch on YouTube that are coming out once a week or every few days, and it gets a following because people are excited about watching it. Like Hell of a Boss. You watch an episode and then you anticipate that next episode. You don't get spoiled with it. Whereas like with Netflix, they'll put out a whole season when they make a season, and it falls off after a while because we don't watch it. So I guess a marketing standpoint is better to make the people wait. Kind of like that's the whole thing that McDonald's does with McRib. Like it only comes out every season somewhere around like I think after or before Christmas for some reason, because that type of meat is cheaper to get at that time. So that's when they come out with the rib. And that was the marketing. It's cheaper for them to do it that way. But two, and then Starbucks with their little the fall thing that they do, the pumpkin spice.
Oh jeez.
Like
yeah.
people anticipate it. They're excited about it because it's that once in a while thing. If you have it all the time with you, if you could just go to Starbucks at any time and get a pumpkin spice latte, it wouldn't be as special. Despite the fact that I only had it once and I had to try it just because, and that was before the whole like other stuff. But it ain't that special. I don't know why. And people think that it's like this awesome special thing because it only comes out once in a while. If it's available all the time, it's not as special.
So it's like a manufactured scarcity type thing.
Right.
Right. And I do not like that. Like I'm hearing what Mel is saying, and it makes sense according to the people who are trying to make money off of it. But either your shit is good or no. Because I don't care like how they roll out Star Trek Discovery. I am going to consume that content, and I watch it 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times over. I've watched Orville 3 times, I think, because it's good. And and I don't think I even knew that the show existed until it was like 3 seasons in or something like that. And I despise being manipulated in that manner to where you're going to try to make something feel special. How about you just make the shit special? And then it wouldn't matter how you decided to roll it out. And for people who enjoy the slow roll and the anticipation or whatever, you can choose to watch one episode today and then watch another one a week from now. If that's how your life is set up and you only have an hour at a time for television. But I don't usually have time to even sit down and watch an episode of anything for long spans of time. But then something will happen. I'll have a cold, or there'll be bad weather, or something will interfere with my normal busy schedule, and I'll have 12 to 36 hours in front of me with nothing to do. I love being able to then sit down and know that, oh, this is something that Damien's been talking about, and this is about to be good. I finally got time to watch all of fill in the blank. And then I can just sit down and binge something that I'm really excited about.
I think this is a question we're going to do we'll have to throw on the group, because, like I said, media is being. I said it was being consumed differently, but I think what you're pointing out too is being produced differently too. We got all these streaming services, and they want to have content, and being a sci-fi enthusiast, but liking TV shows in general. It feels good to be able to check out something for a long time rather than find out like, oh, this was canceled through halfway through season 1, or this was canceled after season 1 and they're not going to do anymore. Because I kind of like Paper Girls. I was mad about that. I was like, man, it was so good. Anyway, I
Did
think
they cancel it?
yeah,
They're not going to do a second season. Oh no!
yeah, they're not going to do a second season. But
Oh,
surprisingly,
man.
Orville will get more episodes at some point.
I'm curious. The cancellations, is it because it doesn't get a following, or do there be other reasons that shit gets canceled?
I think it depends.
Yeah, I think it depends. I think there are a lot of different issues. For instance, if I'm correct, Netflix cancels series when the contracts are up and when it's time for people to get paid more. So like when the writers, directors, actors are at a place where they can ask for more money, Netflix just cancels the show. The contract is done, and rather than them paying more money for, good quality stuff, they're just like, let's take that money and put it into something else.
And that's what I was concerned about. That it's like all of the past way that they would try to build up an audience that Mel was describing. I think that made more sense to my brain in the 90s when streaming and binging wasn't even an option. As to now, they are stingy capitalist, greedy monsters that in the first place just aren't putting the capital behind the content to make it good in the first place, like I mentioned. And then when you do something half-assed, people really do love it, you cancel Firefly. And then you got a whole mob of people that are just like ready to riot when their show is not coming back on.
Yeah.
Or like when they did Power Rangers, and the point was to replace the actors every so once in a while and keep going so that they kept the cost down, which is not fair to the fans or the actors or anything. They're just using it to make money. If that was the case, y'all should have made an animation and we would never know. But it's very stingy the way they do that. And then also what you both said kind of reminded me of books when they come out, because it's not done in that way. Especially you think about the movies that were based on books. You can have several years of people putting out new books on the same series, and people will still come back for it, not because we're simply waiting for it, but because we have to. It takes a while to make a book.
Yeah.
Imagine getting a chapter once a week.
Well, that's comic books. You just described comic books.
That's comic books, and oh my god, sometimes they're terrible too.
Right, but then you can wait and just buy them all in one big book.
And they also cancel them in the middle of a run.
Right.
You said imagine getting a chapter a week. That's wild.
Mel, but don't y'all like pilot not episodes. I keep wanting to say episodes. Don't y'all pilot portions of your books, like chapters and whatnot? Or do you pilot the whole book? Or what's the word? I'm saying pilot, but don't you have people like test it or something like that?
Like review? Beta readers.
There you go.
Beta readers can. I haven't done it yet. I will be doing it soon. This summer. But you get people to test read the book before the final edits.
Oh, jeez.
So you can choose if you want to read the book. Some people do it in their own way. Some people will give you the whole book to read, and then you can give your opinion that way, or they'll give you a chapter a week so that you can like read it at your leisure and then answer the questions on it. It depends on the author and how they want to take in that information. Because I may not want you to give me information on 700,000 words at once. I may want you to read the chapter, then you give me your information, and then I change it based on that, and then give you the next chapter so I can work. It's part of working through it. So you're not really reading it for entertainment.
Okay.
You could be, but it's more of a testing stage for fixing things, kind of like a beta version of a game.
It kind of reminds me of the focus groups too.
Right, exactly. It's a focus group, basically. Yeah.
Because that's the thing, and I know we're kind of jumping around, but like with movies, they were talking about how focus groups will praise a movie, and then the movie comes out and it's terrible. It's like there's good and bad with the binging model, and good and bad with the drip feed model, because I think in the 90s they would have test groups look at episodes and look at movies and tell you what they like and what they didn't like, and people would make changes based on that. Like they still use tests, they use that for like the Disney films, right? But then there is something else, because like we're all watching X-Men 97, right? And there's been a lot of video essays about why it's so good and successful, and it's because people who are working on it care about it. And I think there's a difference between caring about a project that will grow an audience versus caring about a project just to make money.
Yeah.
Yo, and then that's what's happening with Avatar.
Oh,
that the people who made the movie didn't care, but the people who are making this live action shit right now do care. That's a question.
Well,
yeah.
Oh yeah.
I think they care more than the movie. Well, I'm kind of torn on that. Because
either they use the first movie as the focus group instead.
Yeah, like don't do that.
I wonder where they get their focus groups from, because like you said, like the focus group will like it, but then when they put it out to the public, so like is the focus group, like for say it's a kids movie, whose kids are these? Like are they the kids of the people who are out in Hollywood putting together the movie, and are these kids being told, I worked hard on this, I want my bosses to like it, so y'all gotta come in there, you kids go in there and say that it's good? How much choice do the kids have?
And there'll be ice cream.
Like, don't say what you really think.
Right.
Yeah, I'll get you some ice cream if you say that it's good, because I want my boss to think that my stuff is good.
Yeah. Well, all right. Let's get back to the season, because I'm sure we can talk about that some more. We probably should anyway. I'll bookmark that. But in general, Babylon 5. What do you all think of the world itself, like the universe that it's in, the politics, the characters, like the overall world? What are your views?
I think they're doing a really good job of taking all the different I could be using the wrong words here, but like political perspectives, and then attributing them to like the different species of individuals. Because you can clearly see, is it the Narn? They're definitely all about the money and whatever their
I think that would be the Centauri, at least Londo.
Oh, do I have it backward? Yeah, Londo, the one with the hair and the bald in the front.
Yeah.
Okay, see, I'm telling you, I'm still confused.
It's okay.
But yeah, everybody knows, like who he is, and we can look at somebody in our own like reality now who behaves and acts like that. And the fact that the humans are not the cream of the crop. It's like there are other species out there that are way more powerful, and at one point we almost, succumb to who were the people that the lady went in the cocoon at the end.
Minbari.
Yeah, that the Minbari almost wiped us completely out. And it is putting into perspective that we are not the top of the food chain. And I really like that. I also like when they go and sit in that like Zen space and people be reflecting on whatever the hell just recently happened. And it shows like the inner workings of the ship and how
oh, you mean like the garden?
Making gravity work and stuff.
Yeah. Okay.
I think that's dope as fuck because that's got something to do with like real science and how like if it were a real thing, it would actually work. It would maybe look something actually like that.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, I like all that.
What about you, Nita?
I was having a hard time understanding like the atmosphere and the different people or things, the different beings breathing and needing different air. It was it was frustrating for me, but I think I was just overwhelmed with a whole bunch of things that I didn't understand, and every time they were like, "Oh, we need to put our masks on." Oh, and then that one time where like there was a weird scene with the masks. I don't remember exactly what happened, but it was just like random mask suddenly appears and everybody's not gonna die. Oh,
yeah. Yeah, it was kind of like there are scenes to make. Well, I guess this also leads into the other question because there were scenes to show that this is not just like every other sci-fi, right? There are consequences to humans being in certain spaces because certain spaces are not suitable. In general, like, what are your thoughts as far as what was presented that it was different from other types of sci-fi? Like, breathing part aside, like what they showed you, was it familiar to you? Was it unfamiliar? Like that?
I guess it was familiar. I hope I am answering your question.
Well, I'm asking it poorly. Sorry. Like, what does this show resemble other types of sci-fi that you have experienced before?
Yes, it seems a lot like Star Trek and Orville.
Cool. And then, like, what do you what makes you think of Star Trek and Orville?
How the different beings are coexisting on one ship.
Yeah. And then what types of things differ from Star Trek and Orville? If anything at all, really.
That they're still holding on very closely to capitalism. And even though we've gone forward hundreds of years, nothing has changed.
Yeah, like 200 years. Yeah.
Yeah.
It just where the location is the only thing that changed.
Yeah. That is interesting because like both there is a reason Star Trek and Orville show a post-scarcity society. Gene Roddenberry wanted to show what that type of society was like. And then, what's his name? Seth MacFarlane? Yeah, he wanted to, like, that dude is a big fan. So he was like, let's keep doing that. So that makes sense. And with Babylon 5, just like Nita was pointing out, that they didn't go that route. And we've seen a lot of interesting encounters with that the whole season. A lot of poor people in space. Since they didn't go the post scarcity route, do you think that helped with the friction that the characters were experiencing, or that the world experiences? Because we're not seeing the Star Trek future, we're seeing very similar to our own future. Do you think those type of problems were purposefully elevated for us?
I kind of felt like they wanted to express the problems that we have now in a completely different setting. So well, not now, but like when he wrote it, which is the same thing, but we're still having the same issues. A lot of sci-fi will take issues that we do have currently, or that they see maybe a future problem, and just find a new way to express it. Sometimes it's super obvious, like Avatar, where you just took a story of something that happened in the past and put it in a sci-fi setting. But with Babylon 5, he took a issue that has happened in the past and very creatively made it into a new setting where it doesn't like completely mirror exactly what happened. Like, you can see things happening similarly, but without it just being copied with aliens. So
yeah.
I remember in Orville, where the Moclan, they were having a gender identity issue, and I found that very interesting, that even if you take away capitalism, there will still be like other social issues. So it's not, I don't think that Babylon 5, not to say this is what anyone is saying, I'm just making an observation.
Yeah.
I don't think Babylon 5 was unique in that approach of just repeating current problems just in a futuristic setting. It is interesting, like, so is it makes me wonder, like, it doesn't matter what planet, sector, universe you're in, there's gonna be capitalism. Is that what we have to look forward to?
That's a good question. There are some people who think that is very much the case. And since we're like dealing with sci-fi, I think it's important for us to like imagine our relationship to those things, whether it's are we, do we have space capitalism? Do we have space socialism? Or is there a different method that helps us distribute our resources as we are populating the universe? Because, along with that, which Babylon 5 is big about, is the political landscape and how people occupy space, whether they can cooperate or not. We're seeing this in a very Earth-centric point of view, and a lot of times, like, where we sit in those conflicts or in those relationships. But I've been watching, like, for instance, I've been watching a lot of trash sci-fi lately, right? But some of them are imagining, like, what if life just looks completely different? How would we even relate to it? Sometimes it can instantly kill us. Sometimes we are in a completely different dimension than the other life. And we either don't know about it, we can't interact with it. But, it's all about, like, can we imagine different? Can we imagine better? Can we imagine bigger, etc.? And then also, can we, like, make it make sense when we tell the stories? Because that's another hard part with a lot of these stories. You'll see on television sci-fi, so many different writers come in to try to help tell a good story. Is it something that we can connect to? Is it something that we resonate with? Is it something that we enjoy? Like, all of those things are like really important. But when it comes to capitalism, one thing I think is important is that we are not fearful to paint any picture of it. There are aspects of it that are just absolutely awful because a lot of people are dealing with and suffering with the way the system is now. And there are some people who are like, no, that's absolutely wrong. It should be this way. And we're like, you think it should be that way, but this is the actual way that it is. And we should actually deal with the way it is, you know? But I'm just rambling. But I appreciate you pointing that out because having poor people on the space station really bothers me. But it pushes a couple of characters forward. We get a lot more character development with Garibaldi. We see an inkling of character development with Ivanova and Talia Winters. So it's something that comes forward, and it's more like a fact of reality for these characters versus something that universe is going to be dealing with in a direct way. Does that make sense?
When I think of Nita's question, I am left to consider whether the people writing it are the type of people that think that like capitalism is the only way, and they don't see that there is another alternative, and whether people can see it or not. And if they have the imagination to come up with something different or not, eventually the resources are just not going to be here anymore to avoid it. So, like it or love it, capitalism does have a shelf life, and eventually its time is going to run out because you can only exploit people and a planet for so long before, you know, something's got to give, basically.
Right, stuff starts breaking down. Because I agree that you're right. And it, like, in the last couple of episodes, actually, was that the last episode? The guy, the lurker, he was talking about the other guy that took a job, like a day job. And I remarked that sounds like people down at Home Depot. You know, you got people who are willing to do, people who are willing to be cheap labor and are being exploited. And then, like, one of the concerns of the station, what is she? What is Ivanova? The station operator?
No.
Something like
she's
that.
Second in command or something like that.
Yeah. But she's in charge of station options. She was talking about taxpayers expect us to be self-sustaining. You know, money goes to help the station run, but people, they go there to get jobs, but the jobs dry up and they get stuck. Like those are like legit problems that those characters have to deal with. And we only get like a vague sense of an alternative, right? Dr. Franklin operates a free clinic in Down Below. Sometimes alien technology can try to help people. But then here comes the military with Ivanova and the commander. They want to control that technology. Like, it comes across as like, oh, you can't just help people. We need to be in charge of this, you know? and that comes across like when we're doing grassroots work here. Like, you can't just feed people. You have to go through the proper channels.
Yeah. And not just for safety. But like a lot of it makes me think of, I read a book on the history of sci-fi and what makes sci-fi. Mm-hmm. And when science fiction, well, not really first started, but when like Asimov came around, it was telling stories about what we could do with science. And it wasn't maybe until Star Trek that the philosophy and the mentality that goes behind using that science was really more prevalent. I know Asimov kind of used some of it because I mean it's people using the technology. So how do we use this technology to make ourselves better, to make the world better? And sometimes we just use the technology and the technology gets better without bettering ourselves, which we see in real life and we see in Babylon 5. Whereas in something like Orville or Star Trek, where we see we model after the technology that we build to make ourselves better. I mean, we gotta pretty much almost be wiped out before that happens. But then in Babylon, we almost get wiped out, but we don't wipe ourselves out. It's somebody else. So that's maybe why we stick to it and don't grow from it. You gotta deal with your internal pain before you heal. And they didn't deal with their internal pain. The pain came from outside.
Yeah. Which
the pain means yeah.
Go ahead, Sunday.
I was going to double back to like the character development and how you had mentioned the doctor was doing a free clinic, and then it's like, they do have hearts and you're reaching out and trying to take care of the people, but then just as soon as you see that somebody else is doing the same thing just differently, he turned into a whole
turned into a
asshole where I have education and I'm with the pharmaceutical companies and we're doing things the right way, and who knows what this crack snake oils or quack snake oil salesman is doing, it if it's gonna hurt people or not. And I'm just like, there is a slur for you right now that I can't pull off the top of my head, but it really made me really sick to my stomach to see the doctor, especially being portrayed as a Black man, having that perspective on the opposing healthcare provider. It was nice that they all came around in the end and were working together, but that was genuinely disturbing when I was first watching it.
You make a really good point, and I did want to get to this place eventually. The characters, they are not binary. They're granted, they're presented like, okay, this is the crew that we're following, but there's no good guy, pure good guy. There's no pure bad guy. As far as the main characters, what we do have, this is something that did come up in the 90s a little bit more, that we had characters who were complicated, that were flawed, that were troubled. And I wanted to know, like, which characters to you all which characters stood out? Which characters did you resonate with? Who are you interested the most in?
It's a good question.
Well, I think I already just kind of gave away my answer. I did really like the doctor until he called that other doctor a quack.
Yeah.
He was always, standing up for his patients and making sure that nobody was, like overstepping their boundaries. Like the cop, what's the cop's name? Garibaldi, when he's trying to interrogate people who are, on their last legs and, we got to talk to them. He's like, hold up, back up. This is my patient. I have jurisdiction here. I'll shut all this shit down.
Yeah.
I really like how he takes his authoritative role and, and uses it for the good of, his patients and things. And then even when he did do the proper research on the other physician, he did change his perspective. He didn't hold on to his, I'm smarter and my method is better. When he figured out, that there was a different way, he was able to evolve
but
quickly.
The thing is, though, we did watch him take that kind of like arrogant and narcissistic path and was punished for it. In that episode where the aliens didn't want their child to be operated on because it would have made him like an animal, and he did it anyway. and they killed the boy.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. Was a good episode.
That was, to me, that was one of the hardest. It was so melodramatic and just painful to watch for me. But I think it was important for Dr. Franklin, though.
Yeah. And I remember being a kid watching that and knowing that this kid's parents had no problem just killing him.
Jeez. Man, those candles were so creepy.
Mm.
How did y'all feel about Commander Sinclair? How'd y'all feel about Commander Sinclair?
He's like, he feels like he's capable of the job, I think, simply because he got it. Like, otherwise, he should be working on himself before being in charge of an entire space station of people. I mean, he has a good heart, obviously, but was it that he... Somehow I feel like they thought that it would be easy to control him. That's why they put him in that position. Not Earth, but what's her name's people?
The Minbari?
The Minbari, yeah. It was like he was kind of broken when they found him.
Yeah.
And then they did something to his brain. So obviously they must have did that for their own benefit and not finding a way to not finding a reason to not kill all the humans, but to create a reason not to kill all the humans. To use them. It seemed that's what it seems like. Yeah. I mean, I can kind of respect the fact that he has no problem breaking the rules in order to be helpful. And from his perspective, he's not necessarily just trying to get a leg up for himself, but for people, the people that he serves.
And I think he's got survivor's guilt.
Yeah,
and he's just looking for a reason to kill himself.
Oh, jeez. Yeah.
Which is why I feel like he's broken enough for the Minbari to use. Like they wiped out all his whole group that he was fighting with, and then took him and let him be the only survivor so that he can be in charge of that station. And with all of their philosophy and studying and understanding of emotions and stuff, not to mention being able to affect people's brains, you did that. You knew what you were doing. You put the one with survivor's guilt in that position for your own purpose.
Yeah. And then he takes that position. We see him bend rules, find loopholes. He does everything within the law, but not following the law per se, which I thought was interesting. And then when he finds out that he could be manipulated by the Minbari, he launches his own, like, well, let me figure this out. You know what I mean? It could be dangerous, but I'm going to do it anyway. I thought it was interesting, though, because when Delenn did confront him, he just had this look of being resigned, like, well, I'm going to die, so yeah. But, you know, as we saw, things were much different. Delenn had her own agenda, which I wanted to know what y'all thought about Delenn. She changed, of course, she changed a lot from the pilot to the rest of the season, but she had a lot going on.
Delenn at first seems like she's supposed to be kind of a stoic, but then in a stoic way, she does some pretty annoying, jerky things. Like on the side, she has some lines that just throws you off. It's like, if you were really so much a philosopher and empathetic, why would you say that, it's been 100 years since your planet was taken over by these conquerors. You should just get over it.
Jeez.
Like,
yeah.
When you know that the people on the planet, because of them being conquered, are now starving and struggling to survive, you took yourself out of it and said, well, he asked first, and that happened a long time ago. You should just get over it, which doesn't seem very stoic at all, but she's still being portrayed as someone who's very stoic and knowledgeable. And then when you learn that about the different castes, like you have the warrior class, the spiritual class, and then the workers.
Yeah, who we still haven't seen any of the. Well, I don't think we've seen any of the workers, but
yeah, we're not sure if we've seen the workers.
Yeah,
but to put it
You're
that
not
way,
gonna see them because they working.
like, I kind of felt like the person that she when she cremated her friend and handed over the urn to be delivered, like I would feel like that was a worker, someone who was a deliverer.
That's what I was contemplating, and that just might be the only time too. But I don't know. I'm gonna pay attention in the future.
But yeah, their whole class system, even though they feel like they're so knowledgeable, and they even mention it in the pilot movie where she said that we've written thousands of poems and stuff on this situation, and what's his name, Commander Sinclair, just wrapped it up in one little phrase. So their years and advance in philosophy and thinking and stuff still didn't give them what they were looking for. And then she went and she put more faith in the guy looking for something that they knew didn't exist than the whole planet.
Holy Grail.
Holy Grail.
You know this whole planet is starving. You know that they're at the brink of maybe possibly being attacked again. But every time they try to get a leg up and just help themselves, you're like, that's not an issue. But you're like bend over backwards excited about some dude looking for a holy grail that we all know don't exist. But he's seeking, unlike the other dude seeking to feed his people. And he looking for a cup.
Yeah.
For a cup.
Jeez.
She sounds like a moron, but because she presents herself as though I know what I'm talking about, it's annoying because there's such a dissonance between I'm intelligent, but I'm not saying jack shit.
That's funny.
That is hilarious. Are there any other ambassadors that stand out to y'all?
Enos.
Londo.
Londo was my favorite because of how annoying he is. And just like, what is the word? Aloof. Very aloof. But still not stupid. Like, he didn't not know. I liked seeing him fall in love with, was it a prostitute?
Yeah.
Kind of.
She was
definitely
a
she was a slave.
She was definitely an adult entertainer.
I loved seeing him like genuinely in love with her and choosing to support her freedom, even though it hurt his feelings. He just seemed like that. Ew! Like, if I could imagine a human like him, it would be like gross at first sight, but then he's got a really fun, beautiful personality that makes it a little easier for me to ignore his alcoholism.
Oh man,
I just thought he was a very fun character, and then the whole using his penis to cheat is just I don't know when I'm gonna look back at it.
Oh jeez, he is a tragic character. And we're starting to see, well, throughout the series, you see a lot of different faces of him, right? He is smart. He has those purple tapes. I keep saying purple tapes. Purple files. He has his assistant Veer who snaps back at him, which Veer is, to me, is hilarious. Like there are a lot of highlights on the show. Londo is definitely one, but Veer also, the way he interacts with him. But I think Londo's relationship with his home world is where you see some of the tragedy, because he talks about power and how things were, but he's kind of shackled to his position, and he's shackled to where his world used to be. Like they're trapped in the past, and he kind of knows it.
Mm-hmm.
And we're seeing him deal with it in so many different ways, and it's just, I find it very interesting. And I like what Nita pointed out, like his alcoholism. Yeah, he's an alcoholic. He remember he tricked Garibaldi into buying his drink and then left. And then that was kind of like his way to be friends with Garibaldi. But
and he tricked the other guy too.
Lanier.
Yeah.
I thought that was hilarious. Who else stood out?
I want to say Lanier. I don't know what is with me and the Minbari. Maybe because they're kind of like the Babylon 5 Vulcans.
Okay, yeah.
But he seems really innocent about it. Like he only knows his own world, and we learned this from when he hung out with Londo, that he's only experienced studying in the religious class. Yeah. But he doesn't know anything else, but he's just a nerd. Yeah. Like he's just a little nerd. And I love it.
He doesn't come off as super annoying though, which is really kind of is weird that they pulled that off, right?
He's just, he seems genuinely sweet. Like, I just want to know things. I just want to do my job. I find everything interesting because I just love learning everything. It's so cute. I don't want him to get tainted by this world, but that might happen because that's a point. That might be his role in the show, to show someone who is actually kind of innocent but yet intelligent enough to take in all the information of the craziness that's going on, and he's in the perfect position to do that.
Wow. I think that it's interesting that all of the, what did y'all call them?
The Minbari?
No, the different people. There's like a different person from each species.
The different ambassadors.
Ambassadors, yes. That all the ambassadors have an assistant. It's like, come on. All these different species kind of have the same hierarchical system where, they're the ambassador, and then the ambassador is so busy gambling and drinking and and prostitutes that you need somebody to do your work for you. That I think that was kind of a poor way to develop different alien species that would have different cultures, to have that universal theme. But I like the assistant to, what is the speckle-faced one that is...
Oh, to G'Kar?
Yeah.
Na'Toth?
I like her.
Na'Toth is a psychopath.
She is so sweet. And that might be a thing that I'm into. Go Thanos.
Na'Toth is she
ain't taking no shit up of nobody. And nothing bothers her. I like her.
Yeah. I know we're getting along on this. I wanted to kind of move, but the thing is, I know that these characters go somewhere, so I'm not gonna spoil anything. So if y'all don't mind me changing the topic, what are y'all's thoughts on the story arcs? Like, there's a lot of stories that are happening in Babylon 5, and they're trying to say something. Are there any specific story arcs that popped out to y'all?
I guess to me, people's motivations are the ones that stand out to me. Kind of like the Minbari being respectful of looking for an imaginary cup. In contrast to respecting, life in the universe. They don't have respect for life in the universe. They also show a lot of reverence to status based on social constructs, which is very contrast to Vulcans because it's not logical at all. In Vulcan, you have to earn that, you proved it, and that's logical because there's a process. But sometimes their process is just socially, it's just social status. I was born in this, so that's where I am, and that you didn't earn it, you just born into it, which is not. They're completely contrast in logic. I think I've gone off the subject of the question. Yeah, that stood out to me a lot. That philosophy of I'm going to hold my beliefs up so high because they don't really have a reason other than social construct. I think social construct is a because it doesn't answer anything.
I liked the arc of the Psychor. Something is definitely going on with them, and I think they'll probably end up taking over everything and being a real problem. Well, right now they're being exploited for the most part, and wanting to be used to find out if criminals are, really criminals, or if business people are doing honest contracting and shit like that. When y'all go fuck around and find out that they don't have all y'all enslaved and, wearing a doggy hoodie with a butt plug for a tail.
What?
I'm complete.
Okay. Some of the thing, of course, because this is a sci-fi war epic, the social and political is going to stand out with Sinclair, the way he solved the strike, the different ways that he's garnering peace. All of those really stood out to me because it connects to the purpose of Babylon 5. We're supposed to be a beacon of peace. We're supposed to prevent the next war. And then it ends on a very sour note where everything is just starting to fall apart. And it's just wild to see the journey that all the characters went through, to where, Garibaldi is supposed to be kind of like a comic relief, but he really isn't. He is hiding trauma. So is Sinclair. So is Ivanova. There are a couple of characters on there that I'm leaving off on purpose because y'all figure that out later. But we're seeing some interesting problems that these characters are running into. And then I guess one more for me is in the background, the ISN reports of what's going on with the president and Mars. We get to see the quote unquote world issues that are affecting people, but they're far away. They're a long distance away. But then we eventually see how they affect people on the station directly. Garibaldi with the Mars situation, and then the entire staff with the assassination of President Santiago. Considering the show's age, and this is 90s, how did y'all perceive the special and visual effects?
Yeah, they kind of aged the movie, the show. You can look at it and kind of yeah, that's 90s. But they didn't overdo it so much that it's in your face. They kind of sprinkle it in a little bit so that it's not bombarded with bad CGI.
Yeah.
My favorite special effect was when those ships were disintegrated.
Blown up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There was like no rubble left
Nothing.
over, no debris. That was like my favorite.
No space trash.
Mhm.
No space. You know, I think that was the most forward-thinking thing in the whole TV series. They were very eco-friendly.
Yeah. Well, because I kind of thought that they did that because they were trying to keep the what's down there a secret, so that if there was debris, you knew that there was something down there and stuff. Versus like when the Centauri went after the Jakar's people, there was debris left over because they don't
Yeah.
have that technology. And well, actually, they didn't actually do it, but
The quote unquote
Kind of.
other force. Yeah.
any other time there's debris, but that was the only time there wasn't debris, and I thought that was a nice little detail that they paid attention to.
I I laughed because I thought it was different. I thought it was because like, hey, we just need to convey that these ships were destroyed, so let's make them disappear. They got the laser, which was great. They got the explosion, which was great, and then fade. Like, and I'm thinking like it saved them money because they didn't have to render the pieces of the ship.
Mm-hmm.
But in like the only reason why I even paid attention to it was because we were watching it just to talk about it. In general, I don't think people really care. But that is funny to point out because there's a lot of space battles and there's a lot of space junk. And then this one episode, there is none. I mean, you could explain it in that the planet's technology is so advanced that it's like, no, we're not leaving nothing behind. Just disintegrate everything.
I think about the whatever the portal is to bring ships in and out of the same space as Babylon. I think that thing is interesting. Like we're gonna make it look like we're going into a black hole looking vortex thing. But it's cool. You're gonna come out on the other side and everything will be fine.
Yeah.
Ships just appear out of there. And now we're like high alert, and they're firing on us.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
What about the design of the station and the ships themselves? Like, how do you feel they did with that in the 90s?
When I was a kid and saw it, it reminded me of Reboot.
Okay.
Like you can slightly, especially like the part where there's like these blue panels. It looks pixelated.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, like you can really tell that it was computer graphics and not like an actual model.
Yeah.
But back then we didn't get that much stuff. Like before that, it was basically, the practical special effects of Star Trek and then there's Star Wars. We didn't have that much. And then I'm coming from being a kid where like most of the shows I was watching was Nickelodeon or cartoons. So, well, not too much Nickelodeon, but before the crazy stuff happened. Yeah.
I like the designs, like how you can tell the inside of each person's ship based on like how they dress, or the one guy's quarters are all like rocks and it's dark and red or whatever, and then you got the other one and he's got velour, belts and shit. What is that, velvet? And then the humans, they just like look, like the cockpit of a plane, real basic and computer buttons and shit. Planes flying themselves because humans can't be trusted to do anything.
The Minbari actually had seatbelts.
It took me back to when I was in the military on a ship. Watching people turn the corners, it just seemed very military-like. And I was even looking on the walls for the nameplates of the different corridors and things like that.
Ooh. Okay.
I liked the set, and I would have had a lot of fun participating in putting all of those things together.
Hmm.
Do you think that they succeeded in like making the world feel complete inside of the station?
Kind of. It's like I know that there were specific designs for different parts, but then those parts repeat a lot. Like I can tell when they've used the same stage, obviously, for things, and they just move stuff around. But also, like, and down below, the ceilings are lower. But where the but where where the fancy restaurant is and stuff, you could see so much more, and you can see from the garden, you can see everything is so wide. It's much wider and bigger. And then and down below, they got the ceiling is not just lower, but it's like a grid where the lights are coming through the little holes and stuff, and it just makes it look eerie and dismal. Where up in the top part where people actually got homes and stuff, it's open and bright and people can move around, and it's not like a bunch of little holes and stuff that people are going through. The settings really did reflect how closed up things were or how open things are when people have more opportunity. And then the corridors where they actually live, it looked kind of like down below, but they just opened up the lights more and changed the lights and took out the grid. They took advantage of what space they had.
I wasn't paying attention
that's
to the places where people were living. All I remember is like the workspace, the bar, casino, eating area, and then like the dungeon. Well,
yeah, the dungeon. The only part that kind of like made it feel different to me was when they went into the garden. I guess I got used to the train. They've done that a couple of times to where that, like, yeah, okay, I think I understand that. But the garden was for me, it was a challenge because you could tell that the background was a matte painting, but it did portray like this is a large interior that is curved, and let your imagination fill in the rest. And so, I kind of felt cool with that. But then later in the season, when Londo and Morden met in the garden, and it was a maze, I thought that was pretty interesting. And then it made me think, like, I wish they would develop this more. But at the same time, they had, it was the budget. And so maybe, they definitely couldn't. Maybe in the future, when they are able to, me personally, the more and more I think about it, I don't want a reboot. I just, maybe something in that universe. Maybe if they can convey that more realistically, that would be fun.
Isn't the reboot that they're making supposed to be animated?
I have no idea. I've been following some news, and because of the shenanigans with all the different streaming rights and services, and whether or not Warner Brothers Discovery and Paramount and all these people are gonna do a thing or not, the whole thing is on hold. So we don't know if there is going to be any more Babylon 5.
So politics is affecting us getting a show about politics.
Yeah, well, corporate politics, capitalism is affecting whether or not. But you know what, though? I'm cool with what we got.
Maybe there's some fans out there that do it.
Yeah, maybe. I know that there were a lot of fans that did the Star Trek Continues, which is so weird. But yeah, with where we ended up in season 1, there's a whole lot going on. Did you notice any subtle hints or foreshadowing related to future events, either in this season or in future seasons. For instance, are there any questions that you have remaining from this season that you think could be answered in later seasons?
The hatching of Dylan.
Yep. Wait, so spoiler, right? So you did go ahead and you went forward to see what she looked like, right?
It was an accident. I was just trying to answer a question, and I don't know how I ended up in another season.
Okay.
And I was like, wait, is that Dylan?
Okay.
So, yeah.
Okay.
But I don't know why.
Why what? Oh, why she looks like that?
Yeah. Ooh, my cat's having a nightmare.
Yeah, so that's a good question. One, what is she gonna be when she hatches, and then when she comes out of the chrysalis, and then why did she even do that? So yeah, those are some good questions and foreshadowing. What about you, Mel?
The guy, the little Loki like guy who came in and Rondo, who is he working with, and how is he doing what he does, and why is he doing what he does? Because it's very sneaky. He obviously has alternative motives, and it doesn't seem to be something within, as Jakar has mentioned, it's something outside of what they know. In their vast universe, there's still more out there that they don't know, and he's a part of it.
What about you, Sunday?
The alien in the really large suit. And he only speaks one word at a time, and when he opens his suit, there's a light that comes out.
Yeah.
Oh.
What's Kosh? Ambassador Kosh.
Yes. That ambassador doesn't have an assistant. Okay, there we go. All right. Anyway, Kosh is, I think that there's something going on with him because he always knows stuff and things that, other people don't already know. And I think something's going on with him, and I don't know what it is, but I think there's going to be more to find out and learn about him in the coming episodes, seasons.
Thinking storyline, just the storyline, how successful is Babylon 5 with its diplomacy?
Define diplomacy.
Are they doing a good job preventing these species from going to war? Are they doing a good job preventing a second war in the galaxy?
I mean, don't they have the humans are about to go to war with each other. But it's for us to not go to war with other people. So far, it's been somewhat successful.
Right.
Other people fighting is a whole nother story, apparently.
And if there is no war going on, then they are currently successful.
Well, and then we also consider the president being assassin, and now we have this new president who doesn't have the same goal as Babylon 5, which could put a big old wrench into things.
Dun, dun, dun.
And I also consider a lot, because nothing's black or white. It's very everyone has their two sides. Not everybody's perfect. Sometimes people are bad and sometimes people are good. To compare it to other sci-fis makes me think of Star Wars, especially with the Minbari, whereas they appear to be so good, what they actually do is not really good. Reminds me of the Jedi. We think of the Jedi as good because they appear to be good, but when you pay attention to what they actually do, they're assholes.
Yep. So there are a couple of instances in the season where conflict can erupt, but we finally see one particular incident just end up in disaster in the season finale. And rather than just like straight up go to war, we know that the Centauri and the Narn are, well, the Narn are confused. They don't know what's going on. And the Centauri are about to like celebrate themselves, right? I think that is going to be a very interesting story to watch because, again, the Centauri stuck in the past, former colonizers. The Narn, I guess you could say newly liberated, and they have a lot of friction. So we'll see how that happens. But we'll also see what happens when this new faction makes themselves more present in the galaxy. It is interesting because they do seem, there is Morden comes across as like a businessman, but he has ulterior motives. So maybe.
Isn't that all businessmen?
Say that again.
Isn't that businessman?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Yep. Ulterior motives.
He's a sci-fi version of the capitalist corporate agenda.
Yeah, because he's manipulating two worlds to do his bidding. So, so we'll see how that happens. And it's all happening on the station. So, like, technically, the station is successful in that there is no war, but we're seeing like some seams ready to start to pop. It's kind of like stuff is starting to boil over. And I guess that leads us to kind of like our conclusion, which is.
Hold on.
Oh, go ahead. Yes.
I don't think they're doing a good job with diplomacy. Didn't like a whole sector of one species of people get nexted behind them not finding a peaceful way to manage like that sector of space?
Yes, but you know what, you're right, because Sinclair was not able to come to he wasn't able to help like broker an agreement. So yes, but again, there's no war.
Wow. So all those insurgents.
That's what I said.
I ain't got no insurgent friends.
That's what I said.
Because they're not in war.
Technically.
Hell no.
They haven't declared war. They just did warlike things.
Yep.
What's up, y'all?
In general, what is y'all's overall view of the season? Do you think it was bad? Do you think it was good? Can it be better? Will it get better?
It can get better. It was okay. It won't get better because it's been canceled.
I think for the time in which the show came out, it was probably really amazing. I think that I am spoiled off of watching more current content and then watching this for the first time. But because of the company in which I am watching it with and the very colorful discussions that we have after, I'm committed to seeing it through to the end.
I remember being very engrossed in it when I was a kid because it felt real to me. It felt like there were real aliens out there that you could talk to and stuff. I know too much now. It's like, I didn't know how they painted that or what prosthetics they use. Well, I've done computer graphics myself. All that magic has gone away, but now the understanding of the philosophy is so much stronger. So, I don't know. Like as a kid, the world building and stuff was more magical to me, and as an adult, the philosophy is more realistic to me.
Mm-hmm. For me, watching it. it definitely is something that it was okay. Like season 1, fine. It was kind of a middle of the road type of series. There are a lot of series like this that like got canceled. It was like it wasn't moving people enough, and so some places ended up going to television hell, which is like Friday, Saturday. I think it's Saturday, and because of dwindling audiences, it didn't go anywhere. But I think with season 1, because of the story, because of the world building, you kind of had to have it. You had to do it. So then where they jump off in season 2, you have all of this stuff that happened with these people, and you're like, okay, I know what they went through, and now they're doing this because they're gonna go somewhere else. So in general, like, you know what? It's okay. It's passable. Do I think that it can get better? I think I know it can get better. But I think it's gonna take a couple episodes, like a while in season 2, for it to get better. Graphics and all that stuff, it is what it is. But me personally, I kind of like suspend my disbelief. It doesn't take me out of it, really, not a lot. After a while, I think in general, what they did with it was it got us to where we needed to be. Because I mean, they even changed characters for a lot of these people, right? They changed props. They changed the line. They finally got us like, okay, here's what we got. Here's our ground level. Now we're about to tell a story. So I'm excited about it. I'm excited about season 2. I'm excited about all of it. I can't talk about it. But I'm glad to be able to share with y'all, because sometimes talking about sci-fi can just be wild, right? Telling people about hyperspace and multiple universes and all of that, and just being able to go through this with everyone and hear everybody's different takes is really, really cool. So I look forward to where we go next. I guess as we wrap up, is there anything cool that y'all want to say before we get out of here?
Somehow I feel like I didn't actually answer your question. You said, what do I like about it? Where I think it's going, or do I think I like where it's going?
Can it be better?
Can it be better?
Yeah.
Oh, better as in going into the second season. Is it going to be better than the first one? I'm gonna do it that way. So this first season did a really good job of world building, I think. And then with that world building, the world building was done within the story. Like, there was not a lot of exposition. We got to get related. We got to get to know the characters as we got to know their world that they live in, because you can't separate the characters from the world. And technically you could, but that's why something would suck. I think they did a really good job of that. So now that we have the basis for everything, they can successfully get into it. And apparently they have a lot to get into, from not just the political and the economic and the personal lives. All those things they get to build on, because they created such a strong foundation.
Yeah.
If they don't do something with it, that would suck. But they have such a strong foundation that it might be pretty hard to not build on it in a good way. I guess you would have to ignore a lot of crap.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it would be hard to not to get better, or at least be as good. But now we got all the world building out of the way.
Well, I was pointed out in a grocery store for looking like I have a podcast. And I'm like, well, I just so happen to be recording one right now. So whatever we're doing a good job because people are noticing, even in public. I don't know how you look like you do a podcast, but it's right. And I look forward to continuing this. It's a ton of fun. I'm complete.
Okay. All right. Y'all ready to get out of here?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you all for joining us for this episode of Voices in Hyperspace. We will be continuing next time. When we come back, we're going to be in season 2 of Babylon 5. While we're doing that, I'm doing something different with the impressions. I want to change the background for some of those, and offline I'll talk to the crew about it. But once those go out, it'll be a lot of fun. We can have some discussion. And the reason why is there's a lot of new series out. There's X-Men 97 that's out, and they're on their final few episodes, which whew, stuff is good. I think we're also watching the last season of Discovery, and I think we might need to talk about that. And then I'm open to talking about anything else that you all are experiencing. I know I've been watching a lot of bad, potentially good, but ultimately bad sci-fi movies. So we'll strategize on how to get that out. But other than that, continue to follow our YouTube, follow our TikTok. We are at Voices in Hyperspace. We also have a Facebook group that is moderated by these folks. You'll see some cool memes going out, and this is a good place for us to continue our discussion. Where can they find you at, Mel?
You can find me at www.melsrebellion.com, where you can find links to all of my social media and my book series.
I am Eda Painter in all places everywhere. Man.
She's in multiple places. She travels the multiverse.
Hey y'all. Y'all can find me at the Elephant in the Room. This is Sunday. I'm done speaking.
All right. Well, thank y'all very much for joining us, and we will see y'all next time. Peace.
Bye.